Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony, which today commemorates the service and sacrifice of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders in the Australian Defence Force as part of the memorial's NAIDOC Week activities. We acknowledge the original custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Ngunnawal people, and pay our respects to elders past and present. We also welcome all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people who are joining us today and who are watching the live stream. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flight Sergeant Nigel Worthington. Today's Last Post ceremony tells the story of an Aboriginal soldier as part of NAIDOC Week, in which we celebrate the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, and recognise them as the traditional custodians of the land. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have a long and proud history of fighting for country and continue to serve with honour among our military forces. They have served in every conflict and commitment involving Australian defence contingents since Federation, including both World Wars. This NAIDOC Week in particular, Australians from all walks of life call for greater protection for our lands, our waters, for sacred sites and cultural heritage, to prevent exploitation, desertion and destruction. This afternoon, we contemplate the sacrifices that Indigenous Australians have made and continue to make in defence of our country. We acknowledge the family of Private Beresford Paul Edwards, who are unable to attend due to COVID-19 restrictions, but who are watching the live stream of this evening's ceremony online. Private Edwards' story will be told shortly. Wreaths will be laid on behalf of the family, community, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Veterans and Services Association and National Indigenous Australian Agency. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. And during this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, I invite you to stand for the National Anthem. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli, stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting, 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Beresford Paul Edwards. Beresford Paul Edwards of the Wiradjuri Nation was born on the 13th of January 1946 in Wellington, New South Wales, to Lionel George Edwards and Ella Ethel Nee Forrest. He was raised by his paternal grandparents, George and Clara Edwards, and grew up in the Blacktown area. He enjoyed rugby league, cricket and swimming. Edwards attended Arthur Phillip High, where he attained an intermediate school certificate in 1960. After leaving school, he went to work as a clerk, initially for his grandfather and later for McNamara Industries. During this time, he met Paula Dagger and they began a relationship. Seeking greater opportunities, Edwards joined the Australian Regular Army on the 30th of November 1967, signing on for 6 years. He successfully completed recruit training in March 1968 and infantry training in June. Beresford was then posted to the Royal Australian Regiment Reinforcement Wing. He next attended a battle efficiency course at Jungle Training Centre, Canberra, followed by a basic pioneer course at Ingleburn, where he qualified as an assault pioneer in mid-August. With his deployment to South Vietnam imminent, Edwards proposed to Paula, who accepted. On the 2nd of September, Edwards, along with other reinforcements, flew out of Sydney bound for South Vietnam. He was initially posted to No. 1 Australian Reinforcement Unit before joining the 1st Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment, as an assault pioneer at the end of the month. He was immediately on operations as 1RAR deployed on Operation Windsor, a reconnaissance in-force operation in the northwest of Phuoc Tuy province. Edwards spent much of the ensuing months on operations. After receiving news of Paula's pregnancy in November, Edwards applied for and was granted emergency leave to return to Australia to marry his fiancée. He returned to Australia in December and married Paula. His time at home was only brief and he was soon back in South Vietnam. When 1 RAR returned to Australia in February 1969, Edwards was posted to Headquarters, 1st Australian Task Force. On the 11th of May 1969, Edwards flew out of Saigon for rest and recreation leave in Australia. He arrived in Sydney and spent the next week with Paula. Edwards returned to South Vietnam on the 21st of May and was posted to the 9th Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment. When he arrived at the battalion, Edwards was assigned to 5 Section, 11 Platoon D Company. This section was led by Corporal Bruno Adamczyk, an experienced soldier with previous service in Borneo. On the 29th of June, 9 RAR was deployed by road and air on Operation Matthew, a reconnaissance in-force operation. The operational area was east of the Courtenay rubber plantation. On the 12th of July, 11 Platoon 9 RAR was patrolling in the centre of its area of operations when near midday a bunker system was located. Adamczyk took Edwards and scouted forward to the first enemy bunker. When Adamczyk threw a grenade into the bunker, the Viet Cong, who were lying in wait, opened fire from nearby positions with automatic rifles and an M79 grenade launcher. Both Edwards and Adamczyk were killed immediately. The other members of 11 Platoon fought forward to the bunker system. During the contact, the platoon commander called in mortars, artillery and helicopter gunships to harass the Viet Cong. But when the Australians reached the bunkers, the enemy had gone. They were left with the sad task of recovering the bodies of their mates. Edwards' body was returned to Australia and on the 25th of July was laid to rest with full military honours in St Mary's Cemetery. He was 23 years old. Edwards' name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my left, along with more than 500 others from the Vietnam War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Beresford Paul Edwards, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.